This is scene 1 from The Mechanical Man by Anna Menekseoglu. It is a silent play that will be performed at the Chicago Fringe Festival this summer, 2014. Scene 1. In the darkness, music begins. It is a dark and haunting tune. De Menekseoglu Man, the Mechanical Man. The light's rays revealing Mrs. Heckwick. She is a foul-tempered woman in a filthy pinny and bonnet. She is preparing a tray of food for the master. Frowning, she sloppily cuts at a loaf of bread with a rust-covered bread knife. She nicks her finger on the blade. She looks at it and curses something foul under her breath. She sticks her finger in her mouth and continues cutting the bread with the other hand. Finished, she wipes her finger across her pinny and picks up the bread with her injured hand and puts it away. She retrieves a tub of butter and spreads it sloppily across the bread. Behind Mrs. Heckwick, Meta enters and pauses in the doorway. She is a sad and broken girl filled with worry. She is preparing a tray of food for her father. She is holding a vase of flowers. Meta looks at the flowers and smells them. They smell lovely, but she can't help but feel suddenly saddened by them. She hurries over to Mrs. Heckwick and places them on the tray next to the bread and butter. Mrs. Heckwick pauses in her work and slowly turns to them. She pushes the vase from the tray and continues buttering the bread. Meta's eyes go very wide. She puts the vase back on the tray. Mrs. Heckwick removes it again, a little more forcefully. Meta picks up the vase. Mrs. Heckwick turns on her, still holding the knife. She speaks. "The inventor don't want none of that filthy rubbish, girl." Meta is resolute. She speaks. "I think I know what my own father likes, Mrs. Heckwick." Mrs. Heckwick waggles the knife at her. Meta is undeterred. A cruel grin spreads across Mrs. Heckwick's face. She spreads her arms wide and steps away from the tray. "Then by all means, girl." Meta stares at her, and then even more resolved, she places the vase on the tray and picks it up. Mrs. Heckwick sticks her injured finger in her smiling mouth. Meta moves past her and crosses away to the locked door of her father's laboratory, and then suddenly stops. She looks at the flower unsure. Behind her, Mrs. Heckwick laughs. Meta turns her head and glares at her, then turns back to the door, forces her best smile, and knocks. The door bursts open, and the inventor stands before her, staring severely at his daughter. He is surprised to see her, and not Mrs. Heckwick.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the fourth ever? It's the fourth ever podcast of the Chicago Fringe Festival. My name is Vincent Lacey. I wear many titles, one of which is Executive Director of the Chicago Fringe Festival, and we hope to bring you these podcasts in the months leading up to the annual Chicago Fringe Festival. And right now you're asking, hey, Vinny, what in the Sam Hill's the Chicago Fringe Festival? It is Chicago's premier, unjuried, uncensored performing arts festival. We produce 50 shows over 2 weekends in the heart of Jefferson Park in about 5 venues, and if that sounds batshit crazy, it absolutely is. We've been working diligently behind the scenes to bring you the 5th year of Chicago Fringe, now just around the corner. You can begin buying tickets. I'm so excited to say that. Check out Chicago Fringe, that's Chicago, FRINGE.org. And in the spirit of uncensored and unjuried performance, we bring you today's guest. Oh, this is a good one. Just like I feel like this podcast has been like best of, because we've had so many people that are just from the beginning, that have been involved with Fringe in the beginning. I go to my comfort place first. She's been part of the Chicago Fringe Festival before it was the Chicago Fringe Festival. And she's an artist, performer. She's a theater owner, a costume designer. She's a knitting machine. Please welcome Anna Menekseoglu.
You got it!
Yeah! Anna, how are you?
I'm good.
Now, Anna, you were let's talk about how you were how we knew you from the beginning. You knew the Fringe before it was the Fringe.
Yes.
Did I know you before that, too?
No. I met you afterwards through Michaela, and then I saw you in a mammal show.
Got it.
And then I made you be in my show. But Michaela came and auditioned for a piece that we were doing down in Dream Theater in Pilsen, our old storefront space, And she said, well, this place would be great for a fringe festival. And she said, she was just talking to me, and I, saw her and thought, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, that'd be great, She's like, oh, yeah, we should run it, and we'll walk around Pilsen, and this place is so cool. And I was like, these are some big dreams going on. So I just assumed that they were dreams, but she was in Dream Theater, and sometimes the dreams come to fruition. So she came back a couple months later, or maybe 6 months later, and said,
and when was that?
We want these days.
2009?
Well, it was 5 years ago. And then plus
we
the year
started planning before that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it must have been because she auditioned for The Black Duckling, which is going to segue into what we talk about later, because The Black Duckling was the first silent play that Dream Theater did.
So
she auditioned for it.
It must have been 2008,
and she had a schedule conflict, so she didn't get cast. She almost got cast, but...
It must have been 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
Because I think we met in 2000. Me and Michaela met in 2000. Michaela is the co-founder of or I guess we should say the brains, the visionary behind the festival before it even...
Sarah Michaela Brown?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just call her Michaela at this point. Anyway. And then, you know what my earliest memory of you is? With you and a very sick Jeremy at the freaking diner down in Pilsen. And he had just he was dying that day. He was just... Now, Jeremy is Anna's husband.
Yes. And
co-creator, co-owner of Dream Theater. And we had met to sort of discuss the space. And he was so sick. We were at the diner. Do you remember this? It was me and Michaela.
Yes. And he was sick. And it was funny because he was working on writing something. He's a playwright. He writes all kinds of stuff. And I think he had spent a whole bunch of time fretting over something. What he was working on at the time. And so it made him sick.
Yeah, I just remember him being like, I cannot sit here another minute. He was looked like he was just eyes swollen, nose running. And that is how the magic of Fringe begins. In a diner, looking like that. Sarah, Michaela, and I, we met at a Dunkin' Donuts for the first time ever.
Oh, see, then...
I met her through her blog when she was just talking about the idea of having a Fringe. So Anna and I both predate the Fringe, before it was a thing.
And before it was, thing. 50 from all over, and then, 100 volunteers, and which I've done that, and 5 venues, I've done that.
Yes. Well, we'll talk about how you guys were at home for Fringe, but tell us how long you had where Dream Theater got started, the concept of it.
1998, middle of the night, Moscow, Russia, before I ever met Jeremy, he sat straight up and went, holy cow, this is the foundation of theater, while he was studying at Moscow Art Theater. Brought it to, jump ahead to 2002, brought it to Chicago because Chicago needed that kind of theater, and it is the place to do that kind of theater. It's not as expensive as...
And what is that kind of theater, if you put it in a couple of words?
Live, visceral, present, and the audience is always engaged and invited into the dream world of the play.
No fourth wall.
No fourth wall.
Got it.
And so then...
So he started the theater in a sense before he met you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before he met me. And I was in the 3rd production. But I actually met Jeremy in a side project show written by Sean Graney.
Ah, okay.
That was directed by Jimmy McDermott, who Jeremy went to undergrad with. It was my first audition in Chicago, and I got the part. I had to call into work to do the audition, and, took the train up to Rogers Park to the side project. Yeah, that's how I met Jeremy in that play, and then I read his next play, and it blew my mind. I mean, I was just completely blown by this play. It was like, wow, how did you know everything I think in the whole world? And so then was addicted. And so I've been the managing director of Dream Theater since 2003. We've been in Lakeview, and then we were artists in residence at the side project for about 5 years, and then we moved to our own space, Dream Theater, on 18th Street in Pilsen in 2008. We opened that space with the play Medea, Jeremy's version of Medea with a full 6-person chorus of girls. And then Medea's 2 sons, Glauca and Hera, the goddess. Skip to now, 2014, we have moved out of that space. We were there 6 years.
7 years, 6 years?
Yeah, we were there 6 years. Now we have a 30-seat storefront in the beautiful and wonderful Lincoln Square. And everyone's more excited about not having to trek all the way down to Pilsen because no one wants to go to the south side.
It's tough.
For theater.
It's tough.
So
and parts of Pilsen are a bit of a desert as far as train.
You know that story too.
Yeah, from the very beginning, it was tough. I know. I don't know how much research was put into finding Pilsen as a neighborhood, but I know that it didn't serve us after a while. But that's neither here nor there. It's a good starting ground for us. And now Red Moon is down there now, and they got their own thing going on. So good for them, not so great for the kind of theater that we do.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about you being a theater owner because that's rarely a perspective that people bring in. I mean, I know what a craze it seems like to run a Chicago Fringe Festival, like to run a Fringe Festival once a year, and how much work that goes into year round. You do this all year round.
Yeah, we do 4 full-length productions.
Yeah.
A year, and we do all original work.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, we do Jeremy's plays. We do other plays too, but he writes a lot, and we produce a lot.
How far in advance do you set the season?
That time span can be anywhere from a month to a year to 2 years. So we have something, that we started planning for 2015 last year, but it's not fully written yet. So, we can say, hey, we're going to do Dream Child Neverest in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not done yet, then we'll just be like, okay, we're going to do this instead. So we're going to do Alligator, which was Jeremy's 3rd full-length play, as our first show in the new space, and then decided a week before we moved to the new space that we would do Medea again. So Medea is the opener of both of our new spaces.
So that process didn't happen until the very last second, I see.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And how does a project begin taking shape for you guys, besides it springing fully formed from the mind of Jeremy? Is it just him and a piece of paper and whatever he writes and comes up with, and then sort of, does it go to you next? Are you his confidant? How does that work?
We're very ensemble-based as far as the acting, and then all of our actors are multi-talented. So all of our actors are heavily involved in each production. So pretty much when Jeremy writes a script, sometimes it'll be a page, or sometimes it'll be a scene, or multiple scenes, or the whole script, and he'll send it out to everyone. But I usually read first because I'm sitting right next to him. So right. I read them, and based on, I guess, our level of enthusiasm and feedback, it's like, yeah, we want to do this now.
Got it.
Or, if we're all scared or terrified of it. There's a couple of plays that are fully written. I mean, complete plays that we've never done because they're a little too scary to do. So
when you say scary, you mean the content, or you mean the idea of mounting something that
both.
What am I thinking of? Not optimistic, but ambitious?
Both. Yeah. The one I'm thinking of specifically, which we considered putting in this season, is called I'm Sorry for Her Pain, and it's very meta and commentative on the idea of producing one's own work, which is difficult. We get extremely criticized for it a lot, which is, you have to get a thick skin to be able to consistently do your own work and direct and write and act in your own work. Because, if you're acting in someone else's play that someone else wrote, then you can say, well, it's the script.
Sure.
Or if you write
but
a
now
play,
it's very personal.
and then you give it to some other company and they're acting it, and you can say, well, that's not what I thought of for the script.
Right.
But it's all us, and it's all...
Or the director wanted me to do this,
right.
and I didn't want to play it that way, but he told me to.
And it's all us. So everything is created from the first sentence to the, house is open, opening night.
Yeah.
To closing night even, because it's changing all the time. It's very collaborative.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to put that sort of stuff up Hell, it takes a lot of courage just to have your own space. I mean, that's a monster.
I always talk about how, I do everything from I get to actually act in plays, which is the part I like, to cleaning the toilets. I always use cleaning the toilets as the example.
I say the same thing. I'm saying executive director and janitor of
Yeah,
Chicago
I clean
Fringe
the
Festival.
toilets at Dream Theater, I think, more than I do at my house.
And I should say that you guys lived, just to give people a visual, you lived on top of the theater, essentially. Like your apartment.
When we were in Pilsen,
the Pilsen
we
spot
lived in a storefront.
Was in a...
The apartment was above it.
Yeah.
It was not the greatest landlord situation, and so we have vacated that premises.
Yeah. But it was fun when you found that space, I imagine, to just be like, oh my
gosh,
yeah,
I
we can
rehearsed
stumble
in 10
downstairs.
minutes.
Yeah.
And then, it's bedtime. I rehearse till, like 1 a.m. and then just go to bed.
Go to bed. That's a good way to do it.
Or what I'm missing about it right now, we just opened Medea this past weekend, and my character ends the play completely covered in blood, and I don't have my shower, immediately accessible to me. So someone says, hey, you want to go out for a drink? And, I look like a murder scene. So, see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm
bring me a
home
wet
to
nap.
my shower. Yeah.
I'll meet you out in 20 minutes. So you're not in the new space. It does not have an apartment. You're not still in the Pilsen apartment, are
No.
you? Oh, okay.
No, we moved to Albany Park, between
Got it.
Lincoln Square and Jefferson
Got
Park,
it.
So.
Just bordering on Jefferson Park where the festival is, right?
Well, yeah, we're just by the river.
Yeah.
Kedzie.
We're all together now. It's just neighborhood hopping from east to west. There you go. See Dream Theater, see a play, visit Anna at home, and then come to the Fringe Festival. She'll be covered in blood. Okay. I think what I always also enjoyed about you guys having and owning the space was sort of the mastery of the space before the show even began. That was one of my favorite things. I remember coming and seeing a show at Dream. Oh, goodness. Was it Devilish Children, I think?
Oh, yeah, you like that one a lot.
Where you had the...
We got married on that set.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that you
We got married in the theater on the set for Devilish Children before we spattered blood all over the walls.
My next question after this will be, how do you manage your sanity when you don't separate the theater from the rest of your life? But before we get there, I want to talk about the management of the space, because people don't know, unless they've been to your theater, that you sort of throw them into an environmental before they even get, not in all of the shows, but in some of the shows, before they get into the play proper. So why is that important to you, and what cool things have you discovered doing it?
So at that space we had a lobby, and now we sort of incorporate the lobby into the set in our new space. But what it is that we want to give you a sort of environmental narrative for you to step into as the audience. So when you come in off the street, you know that you're coming into a world that isn't your own personal reality. So not only the story of the play and the actors involved in it are, going to this other place, you get to step into it too. And so just through, we like to use all kinds of sensory things, but
Give some examples. Yeah, give some examples. Cool
sounds and so for Agamemnon, which was set on a boat, it was based on the classic Agamemnon, but it was just Agamemnon and Cassandra on a boat was the play. But the lobby all the way up to before you get onto the boat, it was the seashore, and you have this creepy chorus that actually takes your obelisk, which is a coin, and then you have to cross the river, and go through this sandy shore, and there's light, and we did the lobby with a light that looked kind of like a cloudy.
So you had actors
in the lobby.
In the lobby.
Well, the person who takes the tickets,
That's
our
what the
box
chorus.
office is always an actor in the show. It's always linked to the show. So instead of it being like...
Right. Hi, welcome to Dream Theater.
Yeah, you know, which is good, and I do it a lot. I've learned to balance, because people do need to know where the restroom is.
Yeah.
Or how long the show is.
Sure.
And that's not necessarily, you know, the scripted part of your character.
Right.
But you find ways to inform and still be in character and do it in a gentle way, so that you're not like straight off scaring the bejesus out of your poor audience when they walk in and like...
And they want to know when intermission is.
Yeah. Why are there children chasing me with knives? What is happening? No, so we save the knives until...
So you've scared... Act 2.
And we get a lot of our inspiration from haunted houses, actually. And so what we like to do is walk you through the haunted house or through the environment, and then when you actually get to the stage, it's pretty bare. It's usually like we use black and white a lot. And so the visuals that you have are more of the costumes and the props. And then, you know, with a lot of intense, sharp lighting, a lot of shadows, we use a lot of shadows, and intense sound designs, then you don't have to, you know, have like a set that turns into 10 different things on a big rotating stage, you know, like...
Right, that's a monster for small theater.
Right. So,
storefront theater.
But because the audience has gone through that haunted house experience on their way in, they can now look at this blank stage and fill in some of the details of the atmosphere that they're in.
Got it.
So if the thing that jumped out at them was a weird clown painting that they saw on their way in, then maybe that's the thing that they're filling in on the set. Or if it was, you know, a rocking horse or just random.
Right. So it's not just entertainment, it's formation. It's expectation formation. I just came up with that all of that, and it rhymed. It's expectation formation and, like, really, like, delving into the imagination.
Yeah.
And other words that end in ation.
Yeah. I use also...
which I think is great and also efficient. I didn't even think of it that way until now, you know? That it's so efficient to, like, set it there, knowing that the stage itself will be less ambitious simply because of the restrictions of having to do storefront theater.
It also makes it a more personal to each individual audience member experience. So it's communal in that the whole audience is there together watching the same show, but as they come in, they're coming in as an individual, and they're going to have their own individual feelings in it, so they can put themselves in whatever part.
And is Agamemnon your favorite sort of, what are we calling that, pre-show that you did? What was your favorite?
I really like that one because we had seagulls all over the ceiling, and yeah, that one was one of my favorites. And then my other favorite was Devilish Children, where there was a poor, sad little girl who gets beat up every day by her ventriloquist dummy.
God, I loved that.
Siggy was the ventriloquist dummy's name, and Siggy is warning the audience to be careful because the director would like to cut out your eyes.
I loved that. And the gal who played, who was doing the puppeting thing, it was so wonderfully done. She just seemed so abused, and it just had all these layers because she was, of course, was the one doing the puppet. Oh God, it was fantastic. So changing gears for a minute, separate from the design, because I think that's really neat. When people come, what are the big themes that usually come out of a Dream Theater production?
Something has a tendency towards universality, if that's a word, is taking you down into a darker place and then trying to bring you back to another place with some hope. So when we're exploring the tragedies and the Greek tragedies, or even just the other tragedies, bringing you down into hell, and but then also offering you the hand at the end to kind of bring you back out of it. And to use the dream analogy and that pre-show thing, it's like you come into the world of the dream, and that's the play, and the pre-show is like that hypnagogia state.
Yeah.
Where you're just falling asleep,
and
you can
liminal
kind of
space in a
you
sense.
can kind of control your thoughts a little bit. You're still you.
Yeah.
But then once you get into the dream, you're no longer you.
Yeah.
Now you're in it.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
So Anna, talking about the theme of bringing you to a dark place into your dream state and then bringing you back, often that's through the lens of childhood sometimes with Jeremy's production, and explain why that's important or relevant.
Well, if Jeremy were here, he would probably say something along the lines of write what you know. And I think a lot of the artists associated with Dream Theater Company are drawn to doing what we do because they all feel strongly that their work resonates with something inside them that makes them, want to either free that inner child or rescue their own childhood. Mm-hmm. For me, that's kind of what it is. For me personally, I feel like all the time when I play characters in Jeremy's plays that I am saving poor innocent Anna from her childhood heartbreak. I know,
From her childhood heartbreak?
Yes.
Shall I ask more questions about that or go
and,
deeper? Or no? Well, if you say
well,
trauma, then I won't.
there's trauma, but
Right.
a lot of artists do. I have some dark stuff in my past, and
Sure.
I experienced dark things in my life earlier than people should. Mm. I mean, most certainly earlier than I would allow my own child to if I had one. But in some ways, it makes me less afraid of really dark things. But then, so doing the plays...
Because you've been through it.
Because I've been through.
And also because you're reliving it in a sense, or...
Well, no.
Putting it in a hopeful place.
It's never
I'm not saying reliving it. That's a bad way to put it.
It's never reliving it.
But
it's always, like, now Anna gets to be the superhero.
Right.
That saves kid Anna and goes, you know what, it's okay.
Right. Like you're looking at that shadow world and putting a light on it and saying, okay, we can recall. I think recall is the word that I wanted more than relive. But yeah, I don't mean to say that anybody's traumas are being shown on stage or anything. I think that's the next logical point.
No,
it's like,
and
oh God, this really happened to me and it's here, and that's not what I'm trying to say.
And we've met actors that have gone through that, and even a couple times accidentally they ended up in our shows, and sometimes the shows would awaken stuff in them that was, upsetting.
I had that happen in a rehearsal process where a guy ended up on the ground like coughing and
Fetal?
wheezing and fetal. It's scary. It just goes to a weird place. He was hyperventilating. He was like,
oh,
yeah,
right,
it was
panic attack.
Yeah, freaking. It's not good.
I know about those. I don't have those at rehearsal because rehearsal is like joy. It's like love. It's happy.
Yeah, maybe this was like a tech or something like that. I can't remember.
But no,
it was near the end. Yeah.
Well, I have the panic attacks from tech, but never from the characters I play.
Right, that's from real
oh my
Anna.
God, the audience is going to be here in 3 hours, and we still have not done A, B, C, D, E, F, N, G. Fuck!
And so talk about that, because I know that was something I mentioned. Like, talk about keeping your sanity when you're doing everything. I barely do it with Fringe.
I'm a control freak.
Okay.
I want it all done my way.
Okay.
When I try to tell other people how to do it to make it the way that I want it, it doesn't make sense to them, so I just do it anyway. And I've been told my whole life, you're gonna do it the way you want to do it anyway. So you're gonna do it. So
you have no sense of sanity. That's what you're saying. Your sanity comes second.
No, my sanity comes from being able to do art.
Do it the way you want it.
If I just worked this day job, then I wouldn't be sane.
Anna's saying this day job because we're literally recording this in her office. We're outside of our normal recording studio. But I like it. It's homey in here.
Yeah, it's got some art.
I know, you have to make your own. Every corporate workspace, you gotta make your own.
Postcards.
And hey, they're letting us use the space,
photos.
so good for them.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So, has there ever been other voices inside the play besides Jeremy's? Like, do you guys ever collaborate with outsiders or...
oh, yeah, we've produced other playwrights.
Other shows.
Shows. And they always somehow fit the aesthetic and or the energy or that idea of bringing the audience in. So every year, it's becoming an annual thing now. We've done it two years in a row. A Christmas Carol abridged. One of our company members adapted Christmas Carol into just 3 actors. And it's very immersive, and everything is all props and costumes, pretty much no set. And it brings some of the horror of it. I mean, it's a ghost story, not a Christmas story.
Right.
So, I mean, it has that, like, joy of Christmas. And me being a person who, like, really loves Halloween, I don't get, like, a kid at Christmas. Like, at Christmas, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's when I have to think about things like expectations of family and like all the things that are, you know, like everyone at work wants the day off, so I'm gonna work.
Right.
You know, all of that stuff just causes stress. After I watched Rachel's Christmas Carol, I really honestly felt like good cheer. I mean, the word cheer, like who even says that? But I was like, I am in the spirit. I couldn't believe it because, you know, I'm not all about, you know, Rudolph the Red-Nosed.
That was the show for you.
And
that was the Christmas show for you.
Because it was really told from this perspective of, like, Scrooge being haunted. And it's terrifying. Like, Dickens is scary.
Yeah. Everyone should read it. You should like, physically read it at some
And that's
point.
the thing is what Rachel does.
You gotta, like, not watch the Mickey Mouse version and go,
Right.
like, read the text.
And that's what Rachel set out to do at the beginning when she wanted to do it is like it wants to put you in Dickens' rich language, is to quote her.
Got it.
That's what she says. Is
so
it is. It's great.
Tell us, moving forward to Fringe, like what can we expect? Tell us about your show. First of all, it's called The Mechanical Man. That's the show that you're going to be performing at the Fringe. We're super excited to have you finally as performers and not just hosting a venue for us. So tell people what they can expect if they wander into your show and why they should wander into your show.
It is the only all-girl silent German expressionistic steampunk silent play at the Chicago Fringe Festival.
Especially with all those adjectives, of course it will be.
It's the only one, I'm assuming, the only silent theater piece. And it's, you're going to get that experience where you come in and feel like you're in the story. And
what's the story in a nutshell?
Well, yeah, like you said, okay, so like Frankenstein kind of meets the Iron Giant. if you could say that. But in this very sort of dark turn of the century expressionistic film sense. So like pre-noir. It's not like noir, you know, like Joe walks into a bar.
No, it's
and the
much
girl
more like
is
silent
standing
film.
there. Yeah, no, it's silent film where you have the young, innocent, untouched by the world daughter who goes out and finds that there are terrible, evil horrors, but then sees like the bright, beautiful things in the horrors. So she meets a prostitute, and the prostitute's like, the world is terrible, and, you know, she's like, what do you want? Ugh. You're not gonna pay me, then get out of my way. You're a waste of my time. And she gives her a flower, you know, and then the prostitute was like, and a hug. The prostitute was like, what? This little girl just like gave me a hug. Aw. You know, it warms their hearts. And so you have the father who is this inventor who lost his wife.
Okay.
And then you find out in the play how he lost his wife. But he's obsessively working on this mechanical, this creature that's part biological, part mechanical, you know, like it has like metal clamp arms and hands and a big square head.
Okay.
But then still like human features and flesh.
And we see what happens to her.
And we see what happens to the inventor and his daughter. Well, I say his, but it's played by all women, but the women are cross-gender playing, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Played by all women actors.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Got it. And I think give some people some background on that too, because I think that you guys at Dream Theater specifically want to empower women into really cool roles. Is that a thing that just happened organically, or is that a conscious choice?
It was,
not even just this play.
Yeah.
Not even just for the Mechanical Man, but I mean all your work.
Dream Theater has a lot of strong women roles a lot of leading roles that are women, a lot of roles where women get to do things like fight or be the hero or be the villain or but really less than it being about women. It's really more about humans, and humans have these like base emotions, and whether you're a woman or a man, you have these base emotions. And so we're portraying to you these really super basic emotions in a complex storytelling way, so you feel connected to it, because as a human you understand sad, you understand agony, loss,
Sure.
sorrow, and then you also understand joy, elation, surprise, smiling. But the women thing, it kind of ended up just happening. We didn't set out to do it. In Chicago and probably every market, for every one actor that shows up to auditions, there's 10 actresses, women, that show up to auditions. So even now, the play we're playing now, there's 2 boys. The children of Medea are being played by 2 women because we didn't get enough boys audition for the show.
Okay.
When we did it last time, it was 2 boys, but
Right.
it works. We tricked them. They think we're boys.
So it really it wasn't a conscious choice. It wasn't like, we're going to put more women on stage because they need more representation.
No, it was these people are passionate about telling this story, and they really like this story, and they want to tell it.
Got it.
And whatever kind of body parts they have, it's still just telling that story.
You play a woman in the show, in Mechanical Man.
Yes.
Right, but there are other people. There are other women women actors in the show who are going to be playing men.
Yes.
What's that like? Have they said anything to you? Like, do they? Is there different preparation in a sense, or is there something distinct about that choice?
Well,
that changes the way that you rehearse.
it's more in the exploration of the physicality because it's a silent play.
Mm-hmm.
So the audience gets very little dialogue, and the dialogue that they do get is projected on a screen above them. So it's like 2 sentences per scene. So the physicality of the emotion is what's going to tell the story. And so exploring the character through that physicality, there's a lot of examination of how this person holds themselves or gestures.
Well, what was
or
that? And so is that the sort of
expresses.
stuff that you did? In other words, how did you approach the rehearsal process? Did you come in with like, hey, day 1, we're going to read through the script, or were you like on your feet sort of letting people make choices right away and how they carried themselves? Like, how did that work?
We read the script out loud, but we all read the stage directions of our own character. And then we walked through it a little bit with the idea of, in the script it says here she puts these flowers on the tray. So we put the flowers on the tray. But then as we go deeper into the rehearsal process, we incorporate the character's expression of themselves through the way they put the flowers on the tray. I recently taught a movement workshop at the Lincoln Square Roots Festival, and it was using this idea of first you have gesture, and then you have articulation, and then you have exaggeration. So you start with whatever the movement is, and then you articulate it in a way that is very specific, the way in which you point. So you can point at someone with varying degrees of articulation. And then you exaggerate that to the point where it's not just for yourself, but for the viewer to see. So it's putting a magnifying glass on it.
Is that basically what the director's vision is? Like, he'll let you do the scene and then he's like, higher? Raise your hand higher?
Well,
Really get into it now.
that could be a bit of a simplification of it.
I guess I'm wondering just how it's different, how the rehearsal process feels different besides the, like for you guys.
Okay, yes. Here's what's different is that we start with a script, and we have the director that points us in directions of where he wants the whole story to kind of come out. But as actors, we create our characters' relationships to each other in rehearsal by relating to each other. And so by the end of the process, or by performance time, the actor, as artist, has created the character and understands the thoughts and feelings and articulation of the character better than the director or the playwright originally.
Got it.
So they could continue to tell the story, almost and we do a lot of etude work, and that's where the whole where we come from, this Russian background of acting, where you go deep into your character through exploration of what their whole world is.
Right.
Even though you as the audience only get to hear the words or see the actions that are from the script, we fill it all out.
Did you feel like more than at a normal dream rehearsal process for a show that you were doing like acting exercises? You know what I mean? Like sort of, I don't know, the kind of stuff where you sort of sit and like be in a body through your acting exercise class. More than like any other rehearsal before? Than a rehearsal that included dialogue, I should say.
Oh, with this script?
Yeah, with this script.
No.
No?
No. It's an examination of the characters. So we talk a lot. We talk more.
Got it. Okay, interesting.
And I think that probably just coincidentally has to do with the fact that the person directing, Greg Colazzo, is directing. He's one of our...
I just saw him today.
He's one of our newer company members. You saw him today, and he didn't come with you, and he said he wanted to do this interview.
I saw him earlier today at a commercial audition.
Awesome.
But I didn't know that he was...
Yeah, so he's directing it, and then all the actresses, we all have a tendency toward the more headspace, because you have actors that come from thinking actors, and then you have gut actors. And then you have some actors that are kind of in between. And we just coincidentally, most of us are more on the headspace side. So we talk a lot more than just get in there and just feel stuff.
Right. Got it. Okay. I can't wait to see this show. I'm really pumped. Mostly because I know that you guys do great work and will always be great. But also I don't think we had a silent show at Fringe before. A completely silent show. I mean, besides dance.
Yeah, my favorite thing that I saw at a Fringe Festival was the second year. It was those two clown guys that made a big
handshake,
mess.
Uppercut, yes.
Yes.
So they were, yes, you're right.
I
they
had
were
like super actor crush on them. I mean, like performance crush on them. Yeah, I dug that a lot. Because it's a whole lot of that.
That was year 3, actually.
Oh, was it year 3? Wow. That expression through gesture. Because they didn't really have any words.
Yeah.
And it was more than just performance art, and it was not dance. It was telling a story. So,
yeah.
Well, dance tells a story too, but it wasn't,
Dance focus. I get it.
Yeah.
Which I think is neat and not seen enough. And people, it's going to be an instant Fringe experience. People are going to be like, oh, this is a Fringe show. This is different than what I've seen before.
And what I'm really hoping to do, because the whole thing of the Fringe show is that it has to be created sort of spur of the moment. So all the preparation happens in the character work, and then whatever it is that we can do beforehand, which for us is really just going to be kind of the costumes.
Right.
And the projection, the super titles, and even that, it's like, well, whatever we get, and we anticipate that. And so being able to play in that world and to be able to put in the audience's imaginations, what we want them to see, we're playing a lot with black and white. I mean, we're wearing black and white makeup and dressed black and white and with shades of gray.
Cool, funky hairdos and costumes.
So yeah, it's gonna look interesting. I mean, we walked around Jeff Fest and people instantly wanted to know, what we were.
What you do.
Like, yeah.
If you guys walk around the festival like that, you'll get butts and seats for sure.
Yeah. Well, I won't be walking around in the bikini like that one girl. Like she's selling ad space on her body.
She's from Orlando, and that's all she does. She's not even like a performer. She does that at the Orlando Fringe. At the Fringe this year, we're gonna have Bikini Katie, who will be an MC for some of our events at Fringe Central, and she makes money by wandering around allowing people to put ad space on her physical body.
was thinking about trying to put something on her, but
She'll be accompanied the whole time, but maybe, yeah. Or you could just paint one, like, half of her face white or something and put Dream Theater on
it. Well, our logo is eyes, so we could just paint some eyes, like, on her arms.
There you go.
And she can see with her
I wonder how long the ad lasts. That's another good question to ask, It's a daytime thing? Day only? Well, thank you, Anna. We're going to hear right now a selection from The Mechanical Man. Anna, do you want to... This is where the inventor reveals the Mechanical Man for the first time. Is there any other background that you want to give?
Oh, that's good. Part? That's good.
That's it. Anna Menekseoglu. Menekseoglu. I knew I'd blow it once. Anna Menekseoglu reading from The Mechanical Man, a all-girl, silent, steampunk play, magical, Germanish.
German expressionist.
That you will find at the Chicago Fringe Festival in 2014.
The light's rays revealing the inventor in his laboratory. Standing center is his greatest invention, the mechanical. It is a cold-looking thing with a large square head and clamps for hands. Its head is facing backwards. The inventor uses a large screwdriver to tighten a screw on the mechanical's head. He makes several adjustments before placing the screwdriver down and then slowly turning the mechanical's head so it is facing us. The head clicks into place. The inventor clasps a hand to his chin and waits. Suddenly, the mechanical raises one claw. The inventor stares as he slowly backs away from the monstrosity. The mechanical lowers the claw and then raises the other. The inventor slowly nods in encouragement. The mechanical lowers its claw and then takes a step forward. The inventor waves his hands, beckoning the monstrosity towards him. The mechanical turns its head to the inventor and then takes a step toward him, and then another, then another. The inventor's beckoning becomes grander. The mechanical crosses to the inventor and stands before him. The inventor slowly raises a hand and caresses the mechanical's face with an odd longing. Suddenly, he pulls his hand away from the mechanical in disgust and turns away. He speaks. "What a wonder you would be for this world, my mechanical. But I have created you for another purpose." He then points to the door. The mechanical turns to the door and walks towards it. The inventor looks crazed as he whispers, "Kill, kill, kill, darkness."
So, Anna, you have many talents, and in addition to...
Why, thank you, Vinnie.
Yes, you have many talents.
I have a face for radio.
Yeah. You took off your tights, now you have many talents. See all your talents.
They turned off the air conditioning.
Yeah, I know. It's getting hot in here. That's why we're ending this interview. I wanted to talk real quick about what you're knitting as we do this interview, which is amazing. You're not only multi-talented, but whatever you call it.
Task.
Yeah, tasked. Always, it seems like. So tell us about the yarn bombing that you're going to do at Chicago Fringe. What is yarn bombing to begin with?
Okay, so I saw I saw this website on this guy on Instagram that I started following. It's this thing. He's calling himself a brochater. He crochets. That's with a hook. Knitting is with two needles. Crochet is with a hook.
Got it.
So he's trying to set the world record attempt for the world's largest granny square.
Got it.
So right now it's 400 square feet.
Jeez.
Which is pretty big. And he's this cool guy, and he hikes around. He lives in Santa Barbara, California or something. And I saw one of his yarn bombs, and basically what it is it's like an art installation created entirely out of fiber arts, which, for the layman is like a sweater.
Okay.
Or a granny square. So I started looking up yarn bombs because it was interesting to me. And I love knitting and crocheting, and I've been doing it since I was 6 years old.
Crazy.
And decided that since the Chicago Fringe Festival in Chicago, and it's an urban environment, and it's, Jefferson Park is great, and the park is great, but, walking up and down Milwaukee Avenue, you have construction, you have buses, you have dirty windows, everything is just all the same color in Chicago.
Yeah.
So I like this idea of just putting a sweater on all of the poles in the alley when you walk from one venue to the next at Fringe Festival. So I've been collecting people's, handmade knit and crochet things, and I'm gonna...
That's so awesome. It's interesting that you said installation, because the first thing I was thinking was like, it's not an installation, it's right in... It won't just be in one place, it'll be all over the freaking place,
Yeah,
but it's
so
almost
it's
like you're turning the whole urban environment into a
it's a
installation of
neighborhood
sorts.
art installation in a way where people are like, it's whimsy.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Which we love, it's fringy.
And there's a word pun in there, which I'm gonna add for sure, is that you make fringe out of yarn.
I'm doing that universal sign for mind being blown.
Or you can go, wah, wah.
So no, I love it. It will not be hokey. It's awesome. So when you guys are walking through Fringe venues this year, and you're walking near Fringe Central, and you see the awesome yarn bombing that's happening along what otherwise would just be a dull pole.
It's a pole with a sweater.
You know that you now have Anna Menekseoglu to thank.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Menekseoglu to thank.
Yeah.
Menekseoglu to thank. Melection. Sometimes you say a word enough, then you lose the meaning of it completely. Menekseoglu to thank.
My artist's name is Anna Lou.
Anna Lou. So where can people go if they're
Anna
interested in
X.
being involved in this, Anna, and they want to submit some yarn bombing for you to be part of the installation?
AnnaLouX@gmail.com or AnnaLouX.com.
And that's Anna L-O-U.
Yeah, ANNALOUX.com, or my Instagram handle is AnnaLouX. My Etsy shop is AnnaLouX, but it doesn't have anything in it right now. So yeah, AnnaLouX is that's my crafting name.
Got it.
I make stuff.
Are you excited about Fringe Festival? Are you excited to be there?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, so the theater part.
Yes.
That's dreamtheatercompany.com. Theater spelled R-E, not E-R.
Mm-hmm.
So we're
As it
Dream
should.
Theater Company, the producing plays company, not the prog rock band.
Right.
That's
Yes.
E-R.
Not the punk rock band.
Prog.
What are you excited? I mean, what are you hoping to get out of this Fringe? Do you want... Is this just heightening awareness for what Dream does?
Yeah, and I really, really love the idea of having a Fringe Festival because it's immediate. It happens now. It doesn't happen, it's not permanent. It's like super temporary.
Yes.
And that's the best.
Pop up.
That's my favorite kind of art experience, is one that I stumble upon and remember. Actually, a couple of the theatrical experiences that I've experienced in Chicago that I still just remember vividly. A couple of them are from things I've seen at Chicago Fringe Festival. So
That's great.
another one
I'm glad
was
you said that.
a character that you played in the Mammals show.
Oh, thanks.
Because that was so disgusting and amazing that I was like, this
I do my best.
is the creepiest, most wonderful, disgusting thing ever.
Well,
Do
we're
that voice.
excited.
Do it.
No.
Come on.
I will not do that voice. A little bit like
did
that.
A little bit.
Well, Anna, thank you for joining us on the podcast. I think you'll be the last podcast before the festival opens, so that's super exciting. And we want to thank you and Dream Theater for coming and being part. And go check out Dream Theater, please. It's at dreamtheatercompany.com. That's R-E, dreamtheatercompany.com. You can check out Medea, which just opened this past weekend, and get tickets there. I guarantee that it will not be an experience that you soon forget. And you can check them out at Chicago Fringe Festival 2014.
August 30th, 2:30 p.m. is our first.
August 30th, 2:30 p.m. is the first showing.
At the Ketchup-less stage.
Ketchup-less stage. And if you go to chicagofringe.org, tickets are on sale now, and you can get a ticket right away. You can just search for The Mechanical Man. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Vinny.
Thanks,
Eric,
per the usual, for being our man behind the scenes, getting everything shot, looking good. And thanks to this building at 3 from North Clark. They let us shoot here today. So thanks, guys. We'll see you soon at Chicago Fringe.